If you're an engineer who got denied a raise or received a very low raise, you won't want to miss this, because today I'm going to show you how to turn that no into a roadmap for your next raise using the exact mindset you already use as an engineer. When you were denied the raise, you were probably not even able to hear information. Instead, you heard things like you're not valued, you're not seen, or you're not worth more. And the fear that follows is pretty heavy. You might have thought things like, what if I keep getting passed over? Or what if my salary never catches up to what I'm actually worth? Or what if 10 years from now I'm still underpaid and there's no way to recover the lost income? But here's what most engineers don't realize. A denied raise is one of the most valuable data points you'll ever receive in your career, because engineers use data, and this denial of a raise is data. Hi, I'm Dr. Rick Sturdivant, and I have over 35 years of engineering experience, and I've developed a proven process that puts you in full control of your salary as an engineer. Be sure to check out my free gift for you, the promotions and pay raises checklist, in the descriptions below. So it turns out that most engineers see a denied raise as a personal failure. In reality, it's one of the most valuable feedback signals you'll ever receive. A no tells you exactly what's missing from your case for a pay raise. And engineers are trained to use feedback to improve systems, and your career is no different. It's a feedback system. Here's something that I've learned. A raise rejection feels final, but let it fuel fresh focus. So now let's dive into 3 precise and actionable steps you can take for your next raise. The first point is that a denied raise reveals the real criteria. When you ask for a raise and get denied, something critical happens. Your manager starts explaining, and in that explanation, they accidentally reveal how compensation decisions are actually made in the organization. They might say things like, we just don't have the budget right now. Or they might say, you're doing a great job, but we don't really see the impact on the business that we need to see. Or you're not quite at the next level yet. Or we need to see more leadership. Or always something like, you need to be more visible. So most engineers see those things and feel like those things are vague, and so they feel frustrated. Believe me, I know what that's like. But if you listen carefully, then you're going to hear requirements. You're actually going to hear a requirements document for your next raise. And this is leadership telling you what they value. And it's very different from what you thought they valued. You may have believed that if I do great technical work, I'll be rewarded. But what they are telling you is, we reward documented impact, visible contribution, and business value. A denied raise exposes gaps in your documentation, gaps in your visibility, gaps in your communication impact, gaps between what you do and what leadership measures. You know the rules of the game now. Before the denial, you were guessing. But after the denial, you get clarity. The clarity that is so incredibly powerful. So the second point is that rejection creates a clear action plan. Now comes the part that most engineers just don't do. They leave the meeting discouraged instead of curious. But that is where you need to really flip the situation. You ask one question of your manager: what specifically would justify a raise in the next cycle? Not vague feedback, something specific and measurable. You're turning the emotional disappointment into engineering requirements. You want to hear answers like, lead a project end to end, or reduce costs by X, or improve efficiency by Y, or present your work to leadership, or mentor young engineers, or maybe even document your impact better. Now you have something that you didn't have before. You have a 3 to 6 month action plan based on evidence, not emotion. You aligned your work compensation criteria to your actions and not just your technical curiosity. And this is critical because engineers optimize things that are for interesting work, but raises are given based upon what things that leadership can measure. And this is where you begin to think strategically about your career instead of passively hoping you'll be noticed. You have to have a target, a timeline, and a measurable definition of success. And that's incredibly empowering. So now let's talk about point 3, which is that engineers need to use data and not emotion, as I kind of alluded to earlier. The biggest mistake most engineers make after denied a raise is reacting emotionally. They get discouraged, I know. They get quiet, they disengage, and they tell themselves, what's the point? It's very discouraging to get denied a raise. Believe me, I know what that's like, and I've seen it happen. But imagine if you treat this like an experiment. You run a test. The result of this test was that you didn't get a raise. But that's not a failure, that's a data point. So what you do as an engineer is you take data points and you adjust your design. So think of this as a design, your experiment of your career. So what do? You adjust how you document your work, how you communicate impact, how you make your contributions visible, and how you align your projects to business value. And then you start to track it every week. You begin to keep track of the evidence. What business problem did you solve that week? What cost did I reduce? What time did I save? What risk did I mitigate? What revenue did I enable? Now, when the next raise discussion comes, you're not going to be making just a request. You're going to be making a case, and you're going to be presenting data. And data is something that managers can use. So here's the part that most engineers don't even talk about. The real fear isn't the denial of the raise. The real fear is this: if this keeps happening, I'll never catch up financially. Every year you don't get a raise, it compounds. Over 10 years, this can cost you literally like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that's why this moment is so important. This denial is not a setback, it's a turning point. And if you use it correctly, you can change the trajectory of your career. I encourage you to do so. So here's the practical step-by-step things that you should do immediately after a denied raise. First, don't argue. Instead, listen carefully to what they say. And number 2, write down exactly what your manager says. Number 3, ask what specifically would justify a raise next cycle. 4, convert their answers into measurable targets. Number 5, create a weekly impact log. And finally, 6, start recording your impact regularly. You're building a case before the next raise conversation happens. It turns out that a denied raise is not a dead end. It's directional guidance. A rejection tells you what to fix and where to focus. This is how you take control of your career using evidence. This is how you stop hoping to be noticed. This is how you stop feeling stuck. This is how you make sure you don't spend the next decade underpaid and wondering what went wrong. Engineers use data. Use that feedback as data and use it to build your next raise case. And if you want help doing exactly that, I created a free guide for you called the Promotions and Pay Raises Checklist. You can check that out in the description below. There's a link there. It will show you the things that you need to do so that the next time you're asked for a raise, you're not going to be asking. You're going to be proving that you have a case for why you should receive that raise. Until next time, this is Dr. Rick Sturdivant.